Hey guys, Matt Wilson here. This is Wednesday night, and Pacific Palisades is burning, so lots of smoke and ash in the air today here in Los Angeles. Tomorrow all the schools are closed, but I'm getting out of here and I'm going to San Diego for a wedding. My apartment complex here in North Hollywood, or Valley Village, which is a subdivision of North Hollywood, is fine. Anyways, I'm gonna squeeze in another video since I won't be here this weekend. And this is gonna be on Love, Arthur Lee and Love, one of the great Los Angeles bands. I'm in an LA mood tonight, you know, considering all that's what's happening. Love are one of the great bands ever, and the fact that they came from Los Angeles is just icing on the cake to me. People go in stages with their love affair, so to speak. Usually they'll buy Forever Changes and they'll think, yeah, that's a great album. And if they choose to stop there, great. But if they go on, then they'll usually pick up the first two albums, Love and then Da Capo. So then they'll have the first three, right? And then that will do them for a while. And then if they choose to stop there, great. But if they want to go on, they'll probably slowly start to get the rest, from For Sale and Out Here and False Start on, you know, and they move on to Vindicator. And if they stop there or not, because, you know, Black Beauty was unreleased at the time, and then Reel to Reel. So I'm going to be doing all of that today. I'm really going to be looking at the career of Love from 1966 through 1974, and then, like, you know, selected things which were recorded then but were released afterwards. So I'm going to start with 1966's Love. All right, this is a great Elektra CD, which is mono and stereo. That's the cover. Sorry, these things aren't too well lit. This video is at night, and, you know, there's not a lot of light in the room. This is the closest thing to like a garage band album that they did. All right, this is, you know, the classic edition of Love with, you know, Brian MacLean and Johnny Echols and, you know, Don Conca. I read Don Conklin's book, signed DC, by the way, which was interesting. Oh, you know, also, since I just brought up a book, I should show you. I've been looking at this lately. This Keep On Shining, The Guide to the Music of Love, and Arthur Lee. It needs an editor. It's not, I mean, as an English teacher, I can see a lot of mistakes in here, but that's just in the grammar and the sentence structure. I like it factually, and they go over every single song on every single album, every single solo. It's thick as hell too. So I've been looking at this in preparation for this show, but you know how I am about preparing for these videos. I was mostly looking at the Brian MacLean stuff since I was kind of unfamiliar with that, or at least the background of that. So anyways, back to Love. It's a really good record. If they never made another album after this, and we just considered them to be a garage band, this would be one of the great garage band albums of all time. You know, My Little Red Book, you know, the Backrack David song, Can't Explain, Manchester Pretty, My Flash on You, Softly to Me. These are all great songs. Matter What You Do, Emotions, signed DC. Anyways, I won't go over them all. Mono stereo, this is what you need. Even better, though, from that same year, 1966, is Da Capo. Now that, if side 2 would have been better, this would have been a classic. This is also in mono and stereo. I don't know if, again, because the lighting is not that good. I don't know if you can see it that well. Well, anyway, you can look up the songs online. Guys, let me make a statement here about side 1 of Da Capo. Side 1 of this album is I think the best single LP side Love ever made. Better than either of the two sides on Forever Changes. What makes Forever Changes a better record is the fact that both sides are classic. You know, side 2 has Revelation, and it's not that good. It's not a horrible song, but the recording, and the weird thing is that people say that they did that song better, and that they, you know, had they really captured a better, version of that in the studio, it would have, been better received, this album. And then Brian says that they had better material that they could have put on here too, besides Revelation. Of course, he'd probably just be thinking about his songs. Anyways, Stephanie Knows Who, Orange Skies, K Vita, 7 and 7 Is, which was their only top 40 hit. The Castle, She Comes in Colors. Those 6 songs are as great of a 6-song run, in my estimation, as Love ever had. So anyways, there you go. Da Capo, 2 great albums from 1966, one even better than the previous one. And then, of course, we come to the reason why we're doing this video. Forever Changes. This is the Mobile Fidelity SACD. I mentioned perfect albums the other day, and during one of my videos, I can't recall what it was. I think it was Intervisions. I think it was Stevie Wonder. This is a perfect album. I would not change any song on here. Arthur Lee songs, except for Alone Again Or, which is Brian, and Old Man. Alone Again Or is Love's most famous song, I think. And it was written by Arthur Lee. So there you go. Listen to this band. Arthur Lee, John Eccles, Brian MacLean, Ken Forsey, Michael Stuart. All right? Perfect. Going over all the songs is superfluous because they're all classic. They weren't played on the radio. Either you know this album or you don't. If you don't, pick it up. If you don't know this album, though, you're probably not even watching this video. So this is my favorite version, the SACD. There was never a true mono mix of this. There was a mono version of the album, but I believe it was a stereo fold down. So anyways, there you go. Okay, as I alluded to earlier, some folks decide to jump ship there, but they shouldn't. No Love album was released in 1968. For Sale, 1969. This is a CDR I made, or someone made for me. That's the back cover. So probably should just buy a store-bought CD of this. This is Love's most underrated album. If you only have the first 3, get this one. You won't be disappointed. Virtually every song is good. Some of them go on a bit longer than they need to, by like a minute or so. But it doesn't matter. Arthur Lee was not done writing great songs by this point. Brian is out of the band. He's got, well, actually, so is Johnny. He's got all white guys there. Later on, he would have all African Americans, but I'll get to that in a second. For Sale is the best Love album that you haven't heard, if you haven't heard anything after Forever Changes. All right? But he wasn't done in 1969. He also released Out Here. Now, Out Here, he's off Elektra by this point, and this little thing came out, this little 3-disc. It's 2 albums, and it's a live show. These are the Blue Thumb albums that that was the label that he was on. It's really good. Is this Rhino too? Rhino gets their hands on everything, so I wouldn't be surprised. Nope, Hippo Select. I used to buy stuff from their website too. Anyways, Out Here is a double album, also from 1969. So they released 3 LPs worth of material. These songs are good too. Maybe not quite as good as For Sale, but these songs kind of go on too long as well. And I'm looking at Doggone for 12. Doggone's a good song, but it goes on. There's like drum solos or whatever. One of them has a guitar solo. One of these, Love is more than words, or better late than never. 11 minutes and 23 seconds. You just know by the length of that song. It's just going to go on way too long. You can't see it, can you? Anyways, Out Here would be the next best Love album after For Sale if you're going post Forever Changes. I do recommend it. Also included in this set is False Start from 1970. All right, it's got the song that Jimi Hendrix plays on, The Everlasting First. Also some decent material, but probably, since it's the law of diminishing returns, not quite as good as Out Here. Still recommend these albums though, you know? Guys, we have fetishized far lesser artists than Arthur Lee. I recommend getting all of these Love albums, but do it in the order that they were released in. Get the first three, or get Forever Changes and then get Love and Da Capo. Then get For Sale, then get these. If you still want to go, well, if you still want to go on, in 1971, they weren't out with Blue Thumb anymore. They were going to sign with Columbia. They did an album, or almost an album. It was not really completed. It was released, you know, decades later, these 1971 tapes. This CD is called Love Lost. All right? It's pretty good. It's some acoustic demos Arthur did, which are good though, and, you know, full band songs. He's kind of dicking around though. They were doing drugs at the time. He wasn't taking it seriously. Arthur had a very mercurial personality. You know, when he was in a good mood, he was a great guy, a generous and giving and kind guy, but he could also kind of fly off the handle. Maybe not the most dependable guy. So he kind of blew it with these sessions, and they just sat on the shelf for a long time. But they're good songs. They're good songs, and he knew that they were good, so he wasn't going to waste them. So the following year, you know, no Love album had sold a lot by then. So in 1972, he releases one under his own name, Vindicator, using a lot of the material that would have been on Love Lost, but he re-recorded it. All right? And almost always they're better on Vindicator. This is a good record. If I said that For Sale is the most underrated Love album, this is an underrated Arthur Lee album, 1972. Basically, Love became like a hard rock band after Forever Changes. I guess I should have spent more time talking about Forever Changes. Forever Changes, if Love was the first album, was like a garage rock album, and Da Capo was kind of like a psychedelic, you know, almost Baroque garage rock album. Forever Changes was a Baroque psychedelic folk rock album with strings and Herb Alpert type horns and you know, Arthur's very idiosyncratic songs, lots of chords, beautiful, you know, it's almost timeless music. Arthur could sing his butt off. And the Brian songs fit right in, the two Brian songs, just like Orange Skies fitted in on Da Capo. You know, Vindicator is a hard rock album, but, you know, so was For Sale, so was Out Here, so was False Start. Arthur was very Hendrix influenced by this point. You know, a lot of these songs kind of remind me of, like, you know, like what Hendrix was doing with like Dolly Dagger or something like that, you know. But it's good stuff. You know, Arthur once said that he and Hendrix were like the first black hippies. I mean, you know, Sly too, from Sly and the Family Stone. But you can believe him. And, you know, Arthur was recording and everything predating Hendrix. You know what? Since I'm talking about Arthur and Hendrix, I want to, okay, this is something, this is not even mine. This is a friend's CD that he lent me. What is this called? The unreleased Black Beauty album and assorted rarities. Don't get this for Black Beauty. Get the Black Beauty CD. I'll talk about it in a second. But some of these rarities are kind of interesting, and it includes My Diary, which is an Arthur Lee song that Hendrix plays on, 1964. So that's how long ago that they knew each other. It also has stuff that Arthur wrote and was released as far as 63, 64, 65, you know, under different bands' names. But that's how long Arthur had been, you know, writing and recording music before. But anyways, I'm showing you this because of My Diary. Hendrix plays on it. It's not a great song, but it's, you know, of interest to people such as ourselves. So anyway, Vindicator, I think 8, I'm not quite sure, of these tracks were from Love Lost, but re-recordings and better here. So it's a really good record. In fact, I'm going to say this is my favorite batch of Arthur Lee recordings, whether it's under his name or Love's name, of the 1970s. I like this better than False Start, actually. So there you go. Okay, that was 72. In 73, got my little pristine copy of Black Beauty here. I kept the wrapper on because this is a limited edition of 5,000. And this is, if you can see that, that's number 200 of 5,000. Man, have you played the album? You haven't even opened it up. Yes, not this copy I played, but Black Beauty. Okay, so Black Beauty is when he made the whole album, recorded the whole album, gave it to this little independent label here in LA whose name I forget, and the label went bankrupt. So the album was never released. He had made acetates of the album, given it to the band members and maybe some of the people, and these acetates disintegrate after a while. So decades later, through painstaking studio work, they were able to take one of the acetates and create this CD, and it sounds pretty good. I mean, I guess my ears aren't that attuned because it sounds like a professionally recorded album that would have been released in 1973, to me. But anyways, it's pretty good. This was the all black band I was telling you about. He's going in a slightly more funkier direction here. Not quite the funky direction he was going in Reel to Reel next year, but he's heading in that direction here. Still, some of these songs date from earlier years, but he just kept coming up with new material. Arthur was never at a point where he had writer's block in these years. He's just living in that house up in the Hollywood Hills, and whoever wanted to play with him, and that's what he would do. And it's just too bad that none of these records ever sold. Perfect Changes never sold. We might think of something as a classic now, but folks just weren't buying stuff in huge quantities in those times. So Black Beauty's, I can't tell you that it's a great album, but pick up one of these limited edition copies if you can, because Arthur wanted his music out there. You can see he's bald on the cover, or he's got very, very, very thin shorn hair dyed blonde. Different stories as to why he was bald. One story is that he left this hair straightening solution on his hair for too long and it burned off his hair or something like that. But I don't know. But he wore wigs. He's wearing a wig, back in the 60s album covers. So, I guess I haven't read enough about him to know the whole story. But Black Beauty, recorded in 1973, not released until a long time later. And chronologically, we're coming to the last one here, but I will give you some posthumous releases. This is Reel to Reel. This is a full-on love album. I think that they were only calling these love albums because they would sell more than Arthur. They thought, there was the assumption that they would sell more than if they just called them Arthur Lee albums, even though Vindicator didn't really sell either, But Reel to Reel, I know you can't see that with this light. Again, it's all right. It's mostly the same guys that did Black Beauty, and this one definitely has a funkier aspect to it. They even do a cover of Be Thankful for What You Got, and they use that same drum pattern for the first cut. Time is Like a River. Cool bonus tracks. It's nice. It's remastered. Nice essay. This and Black Beauty and this BGO Vindicator. It's people love Arthur Lee, and so it's nice that they put effort into these reissues, these repackagings of stuff he recorded 50 odd years ago. So Reel to Reel, the last love album of the 70s. They continued, though. I mean, Love was touring in 75, and there was recordings in the 70s after this, but it just, after Reel to Reel, it was kind of obvious that Arthur Lee was never going to make it if it wasn't, financially anyway, if it wasn't obvious before that. What else can I show you here? This is This is Love Studio Live. It's basically, if it's from 1970, it's from the Out, or 69, 70. I think it's from the Out Here album. What makes this album interesting to me is that they have some edits on here, studio edits of some of the longer, stuff on the Out Here album, and it's better, I think, when you take out if you just pare it, whittle it down to its pop song essentials without all the extraneous jamming, it's better. There's at least 2 songs on here I actually prefer the edits to the LP versions, and then side 2. Side 2 of the vinyl LP, or a second half of the CD, is live stuff from 1970. It's from Boston, although I think it says here it's from Fillmore East. It's not. It's good stuff though. It's good live stuff, and there was, not a whole lot of live love recorded in those days. Here's a typical Rhino double disc set, Love Story, 66 to 72, so I guess it just goes up through Vindicator. I had this when it came out. It's pretty sure all of Forever Changes on here. I don't remember, but this is a good one-stop purchase, in much the same way I was telling you guys earlier in the Moby Grape video that Vintage was a good one-stop purchase for Moby Grape, and that had the entire first Moby Grape album. So, if you want a one-stop purchase for love and you want to get, I think it's got all of Forever Changes. Let me look really quickly. Angel, signed Eastern 1477, blah, 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 blah. All right, here we go. How's that much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's broken up over 2 CDs though. 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Yes, it is. So there you go. All right. Love Story. Brian MacLean. Brian MacLean is like a Beverly Hills guy who was, a roadie for the Byrds. Wrote a few cuts, was on the first 3 albums, never really made an album after that, but recorded things, off and on over the years. This one, If You Believe In, is comprised of some 60s recordings he made, as well as things he recorded in the early 70s, early 80s. It's pretty good if you like Brian. His voice can sometimes, approximate Arthur's, although he's not as good a singer. Other times he kind of reminds me of like Tim Buckley or, somebody. But I don't know, I keep showing you guys the back of these CDs, even though I don't think you can read them. But anyways, it's pretty good, as well as Candy's Waltz, which is more stuff recorded. Nothing from the 60s, just the early 70s, like 71, and then first half of the 1980s. This is also pretty good. And you can hear his style, which you could say, oh, it's different than Arthur's. Well, yeah, but it kind of... Brian wrote a lot of songs that sounded like they could have been on Forever Changes. But Arthur just vetoed them, because he thought his songs were better, because they were. But when you listen to these Brian MacLean discs, you can hear songs that if Love would have recorded those, if they'd have sprinkled that Love fairy dust on there, they would have been good tracks. If Johnny Eccles could have played on there, and maybe Arthur could have sung some of those songs, and with some strings, some horns, it would have sounded good. So if you're in love with love, and you want things that remind you of what could have been on Forever Changes, I recommend these 2. And the last thing I'm going to show you, short video, not even a half hour, this live show where they do all of Forever Changes, and then there's also bonus tracks. This was done at the Royal Festival Hall, and it's good. It was done decades later, and I know people that think that this is virtually as interesting as Forever Changes. It's not. The album, but it's very well recorded, and it's fun to listen to, and you can just imagine being in the audience and hearing. It would have been great to hear Arthur sing these songs. This would almost be like one of my most treasured, or like wishes that if I could hear Arthur Lee sing Forever Changes, or Arthur and Brian, because Brian could sing his songs. So anyways, Love. I kind of covered everything. Arthur Lee is kind of like, he's one of those guys who was kind of like a genius that never made it. I mean, I was trying to think of like a East Coast equivalent, and I don't know if there is. I mean, Lou Reed, except Lou Reed, Lou Reed had a big hit with Walk on the Wild Side, and he had a much higher profile than Arthur Lee. People don't know even who. Arthur Lee's been dead for a while now, and people don't even know who he was. Like you have to be in rock circles to know who Love or Arthur Lee was. I'm struggling to think. I think I've heard Alone Again or on the radio. The UFO covered that song. The Damned covered that song. I want to say Alice Cooper did 7 and 7 Is. Not a whole lot of bands have covered Love, though. I mean, it's kind of how they retain their coolness. They're still kind of a shared secret, So anyways, okay, so I think I might do the Clash next, but like I said, I'll be gone this weekend. Come back next week, and I'll do more videos. All right, Matt, signing off.